The interview was supposed to be simple. A quick audience member spotlight during the commercial break, maybe a funny story, definitely nothing that would require Ellen to stop everything and sit in stunned silence. But when 28-year-old Jessica Martinez stood up in the audience to answer Ellen's casual question about dream vacations, something in her response would shatter every assumption about what dreams actually look like. It was a typical Tuesday taping at the Ellen DeGeneres Show. The studio buzzed with its familiar energy. 300 audience members chatting excitedly, cameras positioned perfectly to capture every moment, and Ellen backstage reviewing her notes with that infectious enthusiasm that had made her America's favorite daytime host for over 2 decades. The show had been running smoothly through 2 segments, and they were heading into the audience interaction portion that always brought unexpected moments. Ellen bounded onto the stage wearing her signature navy blazer and bright smile, microphone in hand, ready to connect with her studio audience during what should have been a light-hearted break from the more serious interview segments. "All right, everyone, let's have some fun," Ellen called out, her voice carrying easily over the enthusiastic applause. "I want to know about your dream vacations. Where would you go if money was no object and you could go anywhere in the world?" Hands shot up throughout the studio. Ellen worked her way through the audience getting the usual answers: Paris, Hawaii, Italy, Australia. The audience was laughing, sharing travel dreams, and everything was proceeding exactly as planned until Ellen spotted a woman in row 12 who had raised her hand tentatively, almost reluctantly. Jessica Martinez sat in seat 12F, wearing a simple black dress that she'd owned for 3 years, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Something about her posture, the way she sat carefully, as if even sitting was something she had to think about, caught Ellen's attention. "How about you?" Ellen asked, walking over to Jessica's row. "What's your dream vacation?" Jessica stood up slowly, and Ellen immediately noticed how she favored her left foot slightly, the way someone does when they are in constant pain but trying not to show it. "Honestly," Jessica said, her voice quiet but clear through Ellen's microphone, "my dream vacation would be staying home for a week and just sitting down." The audience chuckled, thinking it was a setup for a joke. But Ellen was studying Jessica's face. There was no punchline coming. This wasn't humor. This was honesty so raw it cut through every pretense in the room. "Sitting down?" Ellen repeated, her smile fading slightly as she sensed there was more to this answer. "Yes," Jessica nodded, her voice growing stronger. "I work 3 jobs, and I haven't sat down for a full meal in 3 years. So my dream vacation would be sitting at a table, eating food that I could actually taste because I wasn't worried about getting to the next table, the next office, the next shift." The laughter in the studio died completely. Ellen stopped moving, microphone halfway to her mouth, and just stared at Jessica. In all her years of hosting, she'd heard thousands of dream vacation answers, but nothing like this. "You haven't sat down for a meal in 3 years?" Ellen asked, her voice softer now, more intimate despite the fact that they were surrounded by cameras and hundreds of people. "I eat standing up," Jessica replied matter-of-factly. "In restaurant kitchens, in supply closets, in my car between jobs. I'm a waitress from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I clean offices from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Then I work the night shift at a laundromat until 4 a.m. There's never really time to sit." Ellen felt something shift in the studio. The energy changed from entertainment to something much more profound. This wasn't a guest segment anymore. This was a window into a reality that most people in that studio had never considered. "3 jobs," Ellen repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why 3 jobs?" Jessica's expression softened, and for the first time since she'd started speaking, she smiled. "I have a 6-year-old daughter named Mia. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up, and when I asked her why, she said, because teachers get to sit down sometimes. That's when I realized my daughter has noticed that her mommy never sits, never rests, never stops moving." The silence in the studio was deafening. Ellen looked out at the audience and saw tears in dozens of eyes. Production assistants had stopped moving. Camera operators were focused not just on getting the shot, but on witnessing something unprecedented. Ellen made a decision that would define this moment and transform it from entertainment into something sacred. "Jessica, can you come down here with me?" Jessica looked confused. "I don't want to interrupt your show." You're not interrupting anything, Ellen said firmly. You're making it better. Please, come down here. Jessica made her way down to the stage, moving carefully, still favoring that left foot. When she reached Ellen, the host did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She took Jessica's hand and led her to the guest chairs. I want you to sit down, Ellen said, her voice carrying an intentionality that made everyone in the studio understand they were witnessing something important. Jessica sat down in the guest chair, and the moment she settled, she let out an involuntary sigh of relief. Ellen sat across from her, abandoning her usual hosting position to be at eye level with this woman who had just redefined what dreams looked like. How does that feel? Ellen asked gently. Jessica took a deep breath, and for the first time in years, she let her shoulders completely relax. It feels strange. Good, but strange. I keep thinking I should be doing something, helping someone, moving to the next task. Ellen leaned forward. Jessica, tell me about your daughter. Jessica's face lit up despite her exhaustion. Mia is 6, and she's the smartest, funniest, most beautiful little girl in the world. She's in first grade, and every day when I pick her up from after-school care, usually around 2:30 a.m. when I finish at the laundromat, she asks me if I had a good day at work. Not work. Works, plural. She knows I have multiple jobs. What does she know about your schedule? She knows Mommy works a lot. She knows we can't afford the things some of her friends have, but that we love each other and we're doing our best. What she doesn't know is that sometimes I'm so tired I cry in my car between jobs, or that my feet are so swollen by the end of the day that I have to sleep with them elevated. Ellen felt tears prick her eyes. Jessica, what did you want to be when you grew up? The question seemed to catch Jessica off guard. I haven't thought about that in so long. I have a bachelor's degree in social work, actually. I graduated just before Mia was born. I wanted to help families in crisis, help single mothers navigate the system. She paused, the irony not lost on her. I guess I became one of the people I wanted to help. What happened to that dream? Mia's father left when she was 3 months old. I needed money immediately, not eventually. So I started waitressing to pay for daycare and rent, and then I needed more money for food and clothes, so I added the cleaning job and then the laundromat job. Before I knew it, my degree was in a box somewhere, and I was just surviving. Ellen stood up and walked to her desk, returning with something that would change Jessica's life forever. Jessica, what if I told you that surviving isn't enough anymore? What if I told you that starting today you get to start living? Ellen held up an envelope. This is a check for $50,000. The audience erupted in applause, but Jessica just stared at Ellen in shock. I didn't come here asking for money. I just answered your question honestly. I know, Ellen said softly. You answered honestly about something that most people would be embarrassed to admit. You told the truth about what dreams look like when you're a mother who puts everyone else first. Ellen sat back down. But Jessica, this money isn't charity. It's an investment in you, in your dreams, in the social worker you still want to be. Jessica's hands trembled as she looked at the envelope. I don't understand. I've also arranged for you to receive a full scholarship to complete your master's degree in social work at the University of Akron, all expenses paid, including childcare for Mia while you're in classes. Jessica started crying then, not the quiet tears she sometimes shed in her car between jobs, but the deep, overwhelming sobs of someone who had been holding their breath for 3 years and was finally able to exhale. Jessica, look at me, Ellen said, reaching across to take her hands. They were rough from 3 years of constant work, but Ellen could feel the strength in them, the determination, the love that had kept them moving even when everything hurt. You are not just a waitress who never sits. You are a mother who never stops. You are a woman who has spent 3 years proving that love is stronger than exhaustion, that determination is more powerful than circumstance. Ellen's voice grew stronger, addressing not just Jessica, but everyone watching. But today, we're changing the story. Today, Jessica, you're going to quit all 3 jobs. You're going to go home to Mia. You're going to sit down at your kitchen table, and you're going to have dinner together. A real dinner, where you can actually taste your food and hear about her day. The audience was on their feet now, not because they were cued to applaud, but because they couldn't remain seated in the face of such raw human transformation. But Ellen had one more surprise that would demonstrate the immediate impact of Jessica's courage. "Jessica, something extraordinary happened during our commercial break," Ellen said. "My production team started getting messages from viewers watching our live stream. Listen to this. I'm a single mother in Detroit who works 2 jobs. Thank you, Jessica, for making me feel less alone." Ellen picked up another message. This one says, "I'm a waitress who's been on my feet for 6 years. Jessica reminded me that my dreams matter too." Jessica, in 30 minutes, you've connected with thousands of people who needed to hear they're not alone in their exhaustion. A large screen descended, showing a video montage of audience members holding signs they'd quickly made. "I see you, Jessica. Single mothers are heroes. You deserve to sit down. But I want you to meet some people who were right here in our audience today." The studio doors opened, and several women in work uniforms walked onto the stage. A nurse, housekeepers, a waitress, all walking with the same careful posture as Jessica. "These women heard your story and asked to meet you because you spoke their truth too." The nurse stepped forward. "Jessica, I'm Maria. I work 12-hour shifts and haven't eaten sitting down in my own home in 4 years." "I'm Carmen," said a housekeeper. "I work nights and eat dinner at 4 a.m. standing over the sink so I don't wake my kids." "I'm Beth," said the waitress. "When you said you eat standing up, I cried because I thought I was the only one." Ellen gestured to additional chairs. "Ladies, would you like to sit down?" The relief on each woman's face as she sat was visible to everyone. 6 women who had spent years standing, serving others, finally resting together. This is what happens when we stop pretending exhaustion is a personal failing and recognize it as extraordinary dedication, Ellen said. The most powerful moment came when Ellen addressed not just the women on stage, but the broader issue their stories represented. "I want to talk to everyone watching at home right now," Ellen said, looking directly into the camera. "If you're someone who notices the people serving you, your waitresses, your housekeepers, your nurses, the people who clean your offices and ring up your groceries, I want you to understand something. Many of these people are working multiple jobs. Many of them haven't sat down for a real meal in months or years. Many of them are one emergency away from financial disaster, even though they're working harder than most people can imagine." Ellen's voice grew more passionate as she continued. "And if you're someone who is living Jessica's reality, if you're working multiple jobs, if you're exhausted, if your feet hurt, and your back aches, and you can't remember the last time you sat down for a full meal, I want you to know that you are not invisible. Your sacrifice is not unnoticed. Your hard work has value, and so do you." She turned back to Jessica and the other women on stage. "I want to do something for each of you," Ellen announced. "Jessica, you're getting your scholarship and your $50,000, and you're going to change careers and help families in crisis. But Maria, Carmen, Beth, and the rest of you, you're not going home empty-handed today." Ellen reached into her desk and pulled out several more envelopes. "Each of you is getting $10,000, not because I feel sorry for you, but because I recognize your strength, your dedication, and your worth. And more importantly, each of you is getting something else." Ellen's team wheeled out a large board covered with a cloth. "You're getting a network. Starting today, we're launching the Sit Down Network, a support system for working mothers and anyone who has been on their feet so long they've forgotten they deserve to rest." She pulled away the cloth to reveal a website URL and information about the new program. This network will connect people in similar situations, provide resources for education and career advancement, offer childcare assistance, and most importantly, remind everyone involved that they deserve support, they deserve rest, and they deserve dreams that are bigger than just survival. The audience erupted in applause, but Ellen wasn't finished. "And Jessica, since your story started this whole movement, I want you to be our first ambassador. While you're getting your master's degree, I want you to help us reach other women who need to know they're not alone." Jessica stood up, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what was happening. What had started as a simple, honest answer to a question about dream vacations had become a movement, a community, a lifeline for women who had been carrying impossible loads in invisible silence. "Ellen, I don't know what to say except thank you. not just for the money or the scholarship, but for seeing us, for understanding that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is acknowledge that someone is tired and tell them they deserve to rest. Ellen walked over and hugged Jessica, and the embrace was captured by cameras, but felt entirely genuine and private, despite the public setting. Jessica, you gave us all a gift today. You reminded us what real strength looks like, what real love looks like, what real dreams can look like when they're born from sacrifice and dedication rather than privilege and possibility. The live video feed with Mia appeared on the screen again, and this time the 6-year-old was holding a sign she had made with her after-school care provider. It read, "My mommy is a hero." But the most powerful moment came when Ellen addressed not just the women on stage, but the broader issue their stories represented. She stood up and addressed the entire studio. "I want everyone here to remember Jessica's story. Not because it's tragic, but because it's beautiful. It's the story of a woman who redefined strength, who showed us that sometimes the most radical thing you can do is admit you need help, admit you're tired, admit that your dreams have had to become smaller so that someone else's could grow." As the show wrapped up, Ellen made one final gesture that would help Jessica understand the ongoing power of her story. "Jessica, before you leave, I want you to do something for me. I want you to record a message for other single mothers who might be watching, who might be working multiple jobs, who might think that rest is a luxury they can't afford." Jessica took the microphone, her voice steady despite her tears. "If you're watching this and you're exhausted, if you're working so hard that you've forgotten what it feels like to sit down and breathe, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that your sacrifices are seen, your hard work matters, and your dreams, even the small ones, even the simple ones like rest, they're valid." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "And I want you to know that asking for help isn't giving up. It's not weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do because it means you believe you deserve better. We all deserve to sit down. We all deserve to rest. We all deserve to dream bigger than just survival." 6 months later, Jessica Martinez graduated with her master's degree in social work, magna cum laude. She now works as a family advocate for the county social services department, helping other single mothers navigate the systems and resources available to them. Her first piece of advice to every client is always the same. Take care of yourself too. You can't pour from an empty cup. And every day, Jessica eats lunch sitting down. It's a small thing, but it represents something larger. The understanding that she deserves rest, that she deserves dreams, that she deserves to taste her food and remember that she is more than just the sum of her sacrifices. The episode became one of Ellen's most watched and most shared segments, not because of its entertainment value, but because it touched something universal, the recognition that behind every tired smile, every person moving quickly past us in their work uniform, there might be someone carrying a load that would break most of us. Ellen kept Jessica's story close to her heart and referenced it often in interviews about why her show mattered. "Sometimes," she would say, "the most powerful question isn't, 'What's your dream vacation?' Sometimes it's, 'When was the last time you sat down?' Because the answers tell us who really needs our help, who really deserves our attention, who really represents the best of what human beings can be. Because sometimes the most revolutionary act isn't changing the world. It's changing one person's life enough that they remember they deserve to sit down, to rest, to dream, and to be seen for the hero they've always been."